Hello, hello. I'm so excited to jump on today and talk about 7 ways I have sort of written down and cataloged to make money as a speaker. I've had this conversation a few times in the last week with people who are interested in public speaking and have really run into challenges when it comes to getting paid to speak. And in certain industries and for certain topics, it can be more difficult than others to get paid as a speaker, either because there are so many people who are willing to do it and they're willing to do it for free, or just because of the sort of value proposition that people believe that certain topics have. So I do see some of my clients struggling more than others when it comes to getting paid as a speaker. And I wanted to tell you all the different ways that I and my clients have made money speaking, because it is not just about the speaking fee. There are other ways to make money as a speaker, and maybe you just haven't thought of them all. So I want to share with you 7 ways I wrote down literally in the middle of a client call last week, a prospective client call, of all the ways I told her she could make money as a speaker. So the most obvious one is to get paid a speaking fee. That is fantastic when you can get it, and I make a fair amount of my money every year from speaking fees, but it definitely wasn't like that in the beginning. And if you've watched my broadcast for very long, some of you have probably seen me say before that my first speaking gig I got by reaching out to a local university. Hi, Samantha. If you guys are here, please say hi. So the first time I ever got paid to speak, and I've told this story, so I apologize if you've heard it before, I'll keep it short, but the first time I ever got paid to speak, it was because they offered to pay me, okay? I didn't have the confidence, the guts, the balls, whatever you want to call it, to ask to get paid to speak. I had been speaking at that point for several years, university classrooms, I had been at several law school symposiums, I had done a couple of networking type events, and then I got asked to come speak at a law firm, and they asked me, was $1,500 enough of a speaking fee for me? And as someone who had never been paid to speak, I was like, yes, $1,500 sounds phenomenal. Hi, Ava. You say you're a terrible public speaker. We will fix that, okay? I've got tons of public speaking resources. In fact, I just had my fabulous VA, Jody, create me some new channels on YouTube, and one of my channels is all about public speaking, and this video will be headed there as soon as I get done with it today. But today I want to focus on how you start getting paid as a speaker, okay? So in terms of getting speaking fees, it is all about having the confidence to ask to get paid. Once I got offered that first paid speaking gig, then I had the confidence and knew enough to know that speaking fees were sort of available to me. And unfortunately, I didn't really know anyone who got paid to speak at the time, so there was no one I could ask. And what I found is the fees can really greatly vary. I speak to a lot of nonprofits, and generally speaking, they have less money for a speaker than a corporate event would have. So a lot of it is going to depend on the type of speaking that you're doing. I do a ton of speaking in college athletics, and I know Samantha does as well, so I'm going to mention this. One of the interesting things in the university setting, and not just on the athletic side, but I know that side really well, is that sometimes the people who work in the athletic department or even at the university level aren't fully aware of the funds that are available to them, the grants and the dollars that they can get from different places to be able to bring in speakers. And I find that this is particularly true in college athletics. And so part of getting paid as a speaker is also educating yourself on the funds that are available in the field where you're wanting to speak. Are there grants that people can tap into to bring you in? A lot of times on the university side, it is splitting it between departments and clubs. And so a lot of times when I come in, I'm being sponsored by the sports management program, the law school, and the Sports and Entertainment Law Society. There will be multiple groups, maybe the journalism program joins in, there'll be multiple different groups that will split my speaking fee. Sometimes that's to have me do one big group presentation where they're all invited and it's open to the public. And sometimes I do more than one speech. I always tell people, if I'm already going to be on campus, you're already bringing me there, I'm perfectly happy to speak more than than once. And in fact, a lot of times I'm there a couple of days and I speak multiple times over a couple of days. And I actually try to do that. So if I get invited to speak at a university, say the journalism program invites me in, I'm very proactive and I will reach out to the sports management program and the law school and the athletic department, because those are all the types of programs where I would speak generally. And I will try to get them to all come together, because at the end of the day, when I do that, I get paid more when they can split it between departments like that. And if I'm already going to be there, I have no problem doing more than one speech or doing one giant one that's open to the public. Hi, Carrie. So to get that speaking fee, a huge portion of it is asking for it, and it's really educating yourself about where the funds could possibly come from. That's going to be different in every industry, so I can't possibly cover that for everyone, but just want you to sort of be thinking about how you could educate yourself on the funds that are available in the area you're looking at. You know, if you want to speak at the university level, maybe it makes sense to look at orientation, because there's more funds for orientation, or look at Greek life. They've got a separate budget. You know, sort of educate yourself on how budgets work at the university level or wherever it is you're interested in speaking, and try and help people be creative with finding the funds for you. My second tip for you is going to be to stop focusing on keynote speeches. I know they sound very important and we all want to be asked to do keynotes, and I still do keynotes. But what I've found when I get invited to conferences and events is that I can make more money on a workshop. It's so funny how just changing one word can change everything. And if you've watched my videos for very long, you know that it happened in my own business. You know, changing from calling myself a coach to calling myself a publicist completely transformed my business. Well, saying that I do workshops instead of speeches has completely transformed my public speaking career. People are willing to pay more money for a workshop because and this is just my sort of educated guess, but my feeling on it is that people think with a workshop that attendees are getting something more hands-on and that they are going to walk away with something that they can implement. You know, a keynote speech might be motivational or inspirational, which is obviously important. It can be a huge piece of a conference or an event, a summit, whatever it is. But with a workshop, they feel like people are getting like a mini course, you know, that they're getting these skills that they can go out and implement. And so I have found that conferences and events are much more willing to pay for a workshop, and they're willing to pay more money for a workshop than they are for a keynote. And so I pitch workshops, even if someone comes to me first and asks me, will I come speak? I will say, is there the option for us to turn this into a workshop? And here's what I think it would look like. I just had this conversation a few weeks ago with an event that's coming up in August. It is a huge international association for venue management professionals, and they called to talk to me about doing a speech, and I broached this whole workshop idea, and they aren't going to be able to pull it together for space reasons for the conference this August, but they've already told me to put on my schedule for next August, and that we will do it as a workshop next August. So even if someone approaches you for a speech, you can counter back with a workshop, particularly if they can't come up with the money you want for your speech. One way to do the workshop model, and actually the most money I've ever made as a speaker was from something like this, is to do a workshop that's an add-on cost for attendees. So that means you've really got to bring the value, okay? If they're going to advertise it and get attendees to pay extra for your workshop, you've got to bring the value. But most conferences will at least split the money with you 50-50, if not give you an even bigger percentage than that. And so if they don't have the money, if you're having this like conversation and a negotiation with a conference or an event, and you've said your speaking fee and they've said that they can't afford it, okay, you broach the workshop idea, and then you say, one way I know people have done it is to charge an additional fee to attendees to be part of this workshop. You know, here are the 3 things you can tell them they're going to walk away with and be able to implement immediately, because you got to give that value proposition to get people to pay. And then say, you know, that would be a way that you'd be able to afford to pay me more, you know, if you gave me 75% of that fee, or whatever you feel comfortable asking with. So a workshop, particularly a paid workshop, can be a fantastic way to make money. And some conferences and events will even let you essentially keep all of it. But I wouldn't go below 50-50. I've split 50-50 with people. I've been perfectly happy with that. So it's going to depend on the relationship you have with them and is something you can sort of negotiate, but just an idea, a way to get paid more if they say they don't have money for you as a speaker, or they can't pay as much as you were looking for. That workshop idea has worked out really well for me and some of my clients. Okay, Samantha says, I love the idea of engaging with the audience. Do you have a standard rate across the same type of institution? So yes. So I have sort of a corporate rate, university rate, and I'm flexible. I try to feel out the person when I'm on the phone with them, and I'll flat out ask. I say, if they ask me what my fee is, I say, what is your budget? Because sometimes you might sell yourself short. So I don't like giving the number first. It's just like they teach you when you're negotiating for a job and for a salary for a job. If you don't have to, you actually don't want to give your number first. So I don't publish speaking fees on my website. I can't remember if it was you, Carrie, or somebody else I was talking to about this recently, that I do put my prices for my services on my website, and that serves to sort of weed people out so that I'm not getting on the phone with people who are then shocked to find out what my prices are. But I don't put it for my speaking fees, because sometimes you get on the phone with an event organizer and you say, what's your budget? And the number they come back with is more than what you planned on asking. So I never want to sell myself short. So I do always ask them what their budget is. And I'd say like 50% of the time they have an actual budget and 50% of the time they don't. So I do kind of have rates in mind. For me, it's about replacing sort of the revenue I'm going to lose for the days that I'm going to be gone. I always insist they pay for travel, even if I can't get a speaking fee, and we're about to move into like the other 5 ways you can make money if they're not willing to pay you a speaking fee or a workshop fee. I've got 5 more ways you can make money as a speaker. But if you can't get that, get travel. I can't think of anything I've spoken at in years now that wouldn't at least pay my travel. And sometimes they're willing to use travel as like an extra incentive. Like I did a conference last year in New Orleans, and they didn't just pay for my hotel the night before my speech, which is sort of the norm. I think I was there like 4 or 5 nights. I had never been to New Orleans before and was super excited about going, and they didn't have the funds to pay as much as I would have liked for my speaking fee, but they put me up in this hotel for 4 or 5 nights and then paid for my travel on top of that. And I did get a fee. It just wasn't as big as I would normally want, but that was somewhere my husband and I had wanted to travel. I used part of my speaking fee to buy his plane ticket so that we could go, and it was a little mini vacation for us. So I have starting points in my mind for each type of speaking that I do, and depending on like how long the speech is and if it's a speech versus a workshop and that kind of stuff. But I'm flexible about it if there are going to be other perks like that, because I've got 5 other ways I'm going to go into now. Ways that I can make money when I speak that don't involve having to get a speaking fee or a workshop fee from the host. Okay, so I've written 2 books. One of them is right here. You guys know I love having it in my shop, my Saturday Millionaires book. So a lot of my speaking for the first couple of years the book was out, and even some of it now is in support of the book. My book's used in a lot of university classrooms, so I get asked to come to a lot of universities and speak. Now, in that instance, the students generally already have my book because it was required for their course, so I can't really make money selling books at those events. However, where I have made good money is going to speak to booster clubs. So for you, it would be different depending on what the topic of your book is, but that ability to be able to sell books in the back of the room, or if it's a conference, sometimes they'll let you have like a booth if they've got a trade show. Always ask if there is a time and a place when you can sell your book, because after people hear you and that know, like, and trust factor has grown and they're super excited about what you've talked about, they're far more likely to buy your book like that. So if you've got that opportunity to sell books, I sold a lot of books at booster clubs that way. Another way to do it with a book is to get people to get a certain number of your books. Let's say you were doing a workshop and that your book was related to the topic of the workshop. To get the event organizers to purchase, a set number of copies for attendees. I have actually never done it that way. It's just not a great fit for my topic But I know a lot of people who've done that really successfully and have convinced event organizers to purchase copies of the book. And actually, I take that back. I guess I did it once, but I didn't pitch it. I got asked to go speak to the clients of a financial services firm up in Chicago when my book first came out. And actually, they paid me a fee, but they also bought a certain number of my books and they used them as client gifts. It was like right before Christmas time that year. And so they bought a couple of boxes of my books to use as client gifts. So that's something you can always offer people too if you've got a book. It is they may feel better paying to get a product that they can give away and pay to get your book and give it to attendees versus just flat out paying you a speaking fee. Carrie says, have they ever said no to your speaking fee and then turned around and asked you to be a vendor or exhibitor and make you pay instead? Yes, it's happened to me once. I think now I've been on such a soapbox about it, nobody will ever ask me again. But I'll post the link for my YouTube channel that's got my public speaking videos. There is one in there that is my rant about when this happened to me last year. This was actually like late last summer, early fall. It's the first time I've ever had it happen to me because much of the speaking I do is still in the sports space because that's where, quite honestly, I command the highest rates, and I've been doing it for so long that I'm kind of in the bloodstream there, and so I get asked to speak in college athletics and pro athletics a fair amount, so it's not really related to my business at all. I do some speaking around my business, but quite honestly, I make far more money doing my sports speaking from my from kind of my sports days and my sports background, and so I'd never had anybody do that. I mean, everybody knows I have a fee and they pay it, and nobody really gives me a hard time about my fee. They might negotiate the amount, but people are generally willing to pay a fee. But I did get asked to speak at a conference that's kind of more in the coaching space that a lot of you would be more familiar with. And that was exactly what happened. They said they would put my name on the lanyards for the event and treat me like a sponsor, but that, and I can't even remember what the fee was, but that I was going to have to pay this fee. And in exchange, I was going to get my name on the lanyards and I could get up and speak in front of the audience. And I said no pretty quickly. I have some really strong feelings about that. And maybe it's because I have gotten paid to speak for so long. But to summarize it, and I'll get you the link to the full video on it where I talked about my issue with it, but to sort of summarize my issue with it, if you are hosting a conference or an event, I think you should be inviting speakers who you think provide genuine value to your audience. I think you should invite the speakers you think are going to be the best for your audience in terms of the value they're going to deliver, not the people who are just willing to pay to come. To me, it feels like selling your audience. Like, I'll let you get up in front of my audience as long as you're willing to pay X amount of money. It feels icky to me and gross. And I personally am not okay with it. It's a reason why I don't host conferences and events because they're tough to monetize. There's some people out there who do a great job with it. And Vanessa, I think, who's in this group, she's an event planner and does a fabulous job with it. But I just feel like I'm not going to help subsidize your conference or event. You're going to need to do that through, your ticket sales or other sponsorships. But I don't want to be a sponsor. I don't want you to let me speak because I paid to be a sponsor. And that happens in other industries some too. I've had some attorneys tell me that they've had it happen within the legal industry too. I had never experienced it before last fall, not speaking in the legal industry or in the sports industry. So everybody's going to make a personal choice about that. And that was my personal choice. Oh, Megan, see, I have the best publicist ever on my team. Megan gave you guys a link to my YouTube page where I have my rant about paying to speak at events. So if you want to know more on that topic, you can go watch that video and I won't rehash it here. Carrie said, not to offend anyone in the group, but my potential clients are doctors who always seem to want stuff for free. I have no problem. Sorry, I just accidentally got rid of my comments. I don't mind speaking for free if I'm in front of a lot of my potential clients. I spoke at an event last summer and it was entrepreneurs in Jacksonville here near where I live, and there were 25 people and I ended up getting 8 meetings out of it. So it was an awesome conversion rate, smaller speaking gig for me. It was free, but it was local. It wasn't a big deal. I wanted to get out and meet more people in the community, and the conversion rate was awesome because every single person in the audience was my ideal client. So there are times I will agree to speak for no fee. In fact, that event that I am was ranting about asking me to pay to speak, I would have spoken there for free. It was actually driving distance for me, and there were going to be some people there I really wanted to meet, so I would have spoken for free. However, I will not pay to speak. Again, personal decision, but you can watch my other video for my full rant on that. Okay, so we've gone through, I think, 4 ways so far: speaking fee, workshop fee, selling your books, getting the event to buy books. Okay. And now I'm going to have to cheat and look at my list. I want to make sure I want to do these in a certain order. Okay. So then there's the obvious one, which would be selling from the stage. So for some events, they will flat out tell you that they don't have money to pay a speaking fee. However, they will let you have X amount of time at the end of your speech to sell from the stage. Okay. So that's another way you can make money, is being able to convert those audience members into clients. I prefer my next method, which is to offer a free gift during your speech. So I'm sure a lot of you have opt-ins that are on your website, or you've got a landing page with an opt-in and you're building your list that way. You can actually do that from the stage, and most people will let you offer a free gift. So, and you might even, ask for forgiveness, not permission. So if they don't have a strict rule that says you can't offer a free gift, I'd maybe just do it anyway. But at the end, there's a couple of different ways you could do it, okay? You could say there's an ebook or a checklist or whatever it is that goes along with the speech you've just given, and, that people can download it. And here's the trick. You get people to text to opt in. So you tell them, okay, I want everybody in the audience to whip out your phones right now, and I'm going to have you text the code ebook to 75357, whatever it is. People will whip out their phones in the audience. You will see great conversion rates for this, particularly, and hopefully this is the way you set it up, the opt-in goes along really well with the speech that you've just given. And I know Lead Pages, ClickFunnels, they have that text ability. I'm sure there's other programs that allow you to text in as well, but that can be incredibly powerful from the stage. And really, you can combine that with a lot of the other things we've talked about. You could combine that and also be selling books in the back of the room and also be getting paid a speaking fee. There are ways to layer this all together too. Your money doesn't have to come from one place as a speaker, but getting people to opt in on their phones while you're on the stage, genius. I actually learned it from my public speaking coach. So that's a great way to do it. And the way that my coach taught me to do it isn't just to have them text in a word to opt in, for your ebook or whatever. He said, ask them a question where the answer to the question would pre-qualify them for one of your services, okay? So that when they answer the question, you would know whether they were a good fit for you or not. And so he says, have people whip out their phone and tell them to text the answer to this question you're going to ask them to whatever the number is. And tell them that you're going to draw one person at random to get a free 1-hour coaching session with you. And like me, I don't even offer a 1-hour coaching session. So this is like the only way you could even get one with me. So, people want something free, particularly a free coaching session if they've really been moved by your speech. And so you can ask them to text in their answer to the question. And the trick there is that if you have them text in the answer to the question, you can go through all of them, pick your winner at random like you said that you would, but you can go through all of them and see people's answers. And if they seem like a good fit for your services, you can use that as a jumping off point for a broader conversation. So you can email them and say, I'm sorry you weren't the winner of the contest. However, I read your answer and I wanted to give you, this feedback. Or, I read your answer and really felt called to work with you. I'd love to still offer you a free 1-hour session. Okay, so that you can get them on the phone, so that you can start to grow that connection and grow that relationship and convert them into a customer. So that is an incredibly powerful way to make money from the stage and to convert the audience, just in general, to convert your audience into clients and customers. Like I said, you can combine, even if you're getting paid a speaking fee, you should still be doing this at the end of your speech. So something that I have tried to implement more at the end of my speeches. And that brings me to my final and seventh way to make money. And I've been doing this for years. I love it. So most of the time when I go out of town for a speaking engagement, I'm there at least 2 days, sometimes more. For example, I'm going to a conference in June and I'll be there, I think 5 days actually, because I speak one day and I have workshops 3 other days. So I'll be there like 5 total days, but I have a decent amount of downtime every day. Like my workshops don't start till really late in the afternoon. So I have the whole beginning part of the day. And a lot of times I sit in my hotel room or in the lobby or whatever, and I'm doing client work. But one of the things I've been doing for years now when I go to conferences and events is that I will advertise in advance and offer coaching or VIP sessions. So I started out offering 1 hour sessions, and then I went to 2 hour sessions, and now I do half day or full day VIP sessions. And what I do is I just start talking about it on social media. As soon as I know that I'm going to the event, I will start talking about it. I'll usually put up a blog post as well where I talk about my availability and what our time together would look like. And if there's like a conference hashtag, you can probably get away with using that on Twitter to sort of talk about it. But it's sessions you're offering that are not affiliated with the conference. Okay, it happens to be in the same city. Maybe you're even doing it there in the hotel. I've done it in a variety of different places. You know, you can rent an office. There's offices you can rent kind of by the hour on things like Liquid Space. You can do it in, you know, kind of quieter areas of a hotel. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And so you are doing it usually with attendees. Now, sometimes people see me post it and they happen to live in the city I'm going to be in and they want to come over, which is fine. But my goal with it always is to offer it to other attendees who would want to spend more time with me and don't just want to come to my 1 hour speech. They want me to sit down and dig in and work with them. And I've had incredible success booking those out in advance just by talking about it a lot on social media. Particularly if I'm going to be booked as a speaker, people are probably going to be looking at the agenda and then checking me out. So I just talk about it a lot on social media. I put a blog post on my site. If I feel comfortable enough to like use the conference hashtag, I might do that too. But that will allow you to make money at the event completely independent and separate of the conference, event, summit, whatever it is, and can be a way to supplement if they aren't paying you or aren't paying you enough. So I've done those and have really enjoyed them. And if I do know people who live in the cities, I reach out to them in advance. For actually Carrie, who's watching, Carrie is in Vegas, and I'm going to be in Vegas actually for a piece I'm writing for Forbes, but I'm going to be there for a few days. And I reached out to Carrie and then one other person that I've talked to about working with in Vegas and said, hey, I'm going to be there. If you were thinking about doing a half day or a full day VIP with me, instead of us doing it virtually, I'll be in Vegas and we can do it in person. So I also try to, reach out individually to people too. So I'll be in Orlando in June and I've reached out to some people there already. I'll be in Nashville in August. So see, even what I'm doing right now, I mean, I'm doing this intentionally to show you, but talking about where I'm going to be and when I'm going to be there, if you guys are listening and I'm coming to your city, this has happened. People then reach out to me and say, hey, you mentioned you're going to be in Nashville. I live in Nashville. I'd love to know what a half day or a full day VIP would look like with you. So it's just putting it out there. It's talking about it. It's making sure people are aware that you're offering it. And I found that that's a great way for me to generate some extra revenue when maybe my speaking fee isn't enough, or quite honestly, even if my speaking fee was enough, if I'm there enough days and I can offer that. I love working with people in person. I think my VIP sessions are really powerful even when we do them remotely, but I love doing them in person. So I want to get that kind of stuff on my schedule when I travel. And so I always make sure and talk about it and offer it beforehand. Okay, so that's our 7 ways. I'm going to go back through them really quick and give you guys time if you want to get in any questions. But it's straight up speaking fee, workshop fee, which we talked about, selling your books, getting them to buy a certain number of your books to give to attendees, selling from the stage, having people opt in and get into your funnel by having them text in when you're up on the stage, and then offering VIP sessions in the same city, the same area as where you're going to be to speak. Okay, so that is 7 ways I have made money speaking and continue to make money speaking. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in here and I will answer them. And if you're watching this on replay later on Facebook, or even if you're watching it on replay later on YouTube, leave me the questions. I always check my comments and I'm happy to come back and answer anything that I see. Some of you, I know a little bit already about some of the speaking that you've been doing, and I know that it can be challenging to start getting paid as a speaker, but I found the more, once it's just like a snowball rolling down a hill. Like once I start getting paid a few times, I start getting paid more and more, and then up to my fees, and over time now it has become a significant revenue source for me, but it definitely took time. And I spoke for free for like 3 years probably before I started to get paid. And like I said, I only started to get paid because someone offered me one day. I was not at a stage where I would have even felt comfortable asking. So if you guys have any questions about it, leave them here and I will come back and check for them. I don't see any right now. So I will wish you all luck with your public speaking endeavors. And if you ever have any questions, just reach out to me and let me know. Thank you. I hope everybody has an awesome day.